Hello guys, Sinis here, and today I would like to talk to you guys about Days Gone. So a few years ago, Sony's Bend Studio decided to reveal a zombie open world game on E3 during a PlayStation E3 conference, and they presented it as a zombie game with bikers in it. And I would be very honest, I did not find it interesting in the least. It got mixed reviews. It was a financial disappointment, I think, for Sony, and Sony decided to not go on with its sequel, and they just asked Sony Band Studios to work on something else. I think they are working on some kind of remaster right now, remaster or remake of some kind of game, I'm not sure. So why am I talking about it today? Well, because I completed the game recently and I found it very interesting. There were a bunch of reasons for that. See, first of all, I had heard that the game's bike mechanics were tedious because their bike demanded maintenance at every particular point. See, it got damaged and it ran out of fuel. Every now and then you had to stop and repair it and find fuel for it. And yes, it sounded pretty tedious at first, but then I started playing the game and my opinions changed about these things. So let us start from where everyone starts, with the game reviews. I would talk about the game's graphics first. For the lack of better word, I would say it looks awesome. It looks like a current gen game. It doesn't stand out very much, but it's a very good looking game. It has lush environments, it has snow covered mountains, it has wide grasslands, it has everything going for it. I promise you that if you would play this game at some point and you would be riding on your bike and you would look around the environment while riding your bike, and you would be totally taken by how good it looks. It has awesome viewing distance and its lighting is pretty cool. It looks pretty awesome, and in HDR this game just shines. For more details regarding the graphics, you can always go ahead and check out the Digital Foundry video of it. But if you ask me personally, the game does not disappoint in the graphics department. I have heard somewhere that it's an Unreal Engine game, and no, it doesn't look like one, because before this, whenever I have played an Unreal Engine game, I could point out a few things that would be an instant tell that yes, it is an Unreal Engine 3 or 4 game. But I struggle to find any similarity between this and any Unreal Engine game that I had played before. The gameplay is what captured me. For years I have played so many open world games made by developers like Ubisoft and Rockstar Games, and when I started this game, Days Gone, it was so evident that it wanted to be somewhat a mix of what both those developers made. They wanted it to be very similar to Far Cry games or Assassin's Creed games gameplay wise, while they wanted the game to be very similar to Red Dead Redemption in terms of story. I must say they somewhat succeeded in making this game very interesting gameplay wise. It's not something drastically new. It is your typical third-person shooter game where you can craft stuff, you can buy weapons, and you can use basic stealth mechanics to take out your enemies, and you can throw stone to distract them and sneak behind them and take them out silently. And I must tell you, all these things, they work. There's nothing that stands out here, and there's nothing that's very bad here. But what makes all this very appealing for me is the addition of those tedious bike mechanics and zombie hordes. You see, what has happened to me numerous times in this game, I found myself traveling on my bike from location A to B and I have ran out of fuel, and sometimes it's in the middle of night. So at night, these zombie hordes have a path that they follow. They walk around and they have certain stops that they make, and eventually they go back to their sleeping nests, the location where they start from. In case you find yourself stranded without fuel at night, you might have to make sure you don't get detected by one of these zombie hordes, and you have to find fuel cans so you can refuel your bike and carry on with your journey. And this is where the game gets interesting. See, these distances can vary. You can find yourself standing somewhere where there's nothing nearby, and you'll have to walk a long way to find yourself a can of fuel, or you can run run out of fuel nearby some abandoned town or something. You might encounter one of these hordes on your way to or fro the fuel cans location, and in the initial stages of the game, at the beginning, it wouldn't be very wise to just take on these hordes head on. So you'll find yourself playing a game of hide and seek with these hordes, and this is what actually made it very interesting for me. More than often I found myself hiding in a bunch of foliage and waiting for a horde to pass by. Other times you would just find yourself running from one of those hordes and very desperate to find a place to hide. So these encounters actually made this game very interesting to me personally. There are different camps. Every camp leader gives you a mission, and those missions are basically going from point A to point B to kill either zombies or human enemies. There are certain factions. Most of those factions are your enemies, and those camps are friendly. They are only friendly because you are doing stuff for them. They pay you in reputation and credits. The credit is, I think, common amongst all those camps, while reputation is individual to each camp. So if you are doing missions for one particular camp, you would get reputation for that camp, and it would increase, and the highest level of those reputation is level 3. Each level you unlock certain weapons and certain things in that particular camp that you can buy. So some weapons would be exclusive to one camp, and the others would be exclusive to other camp, and some bike upgrades would be exclusive to one camp, and other bike upgrades would be exclusive to the other camp. Eventually you would end up being maxed out in all of those camps, but this is how it works in the beginning. It's kind of irritating if you ask me. Other than that, you have crafting. You find crafting materials in the open world. You use those crafting materials to craft different things such as Molotov cocktails, crossbow bolts for your crossbow, and those have different varieties too. You would eventually unlock different variants of these things such as pressure sensitive traps, remote bombs, and you'd also unlock melee weapons. And those melee weapons, I tell you, those are the most overpowered thing that I have ever seen in a game. When I had completed around 65% of that game, I was able to clear whole enemy camps using that melee weapon only, as that weapon was capable of killing a heavy enemy in 2 hits. So if you don't want to make this game too easy for you, just refrain from using that melee weapon. Other than that, driving mechanics are not very realistic, but yeah, they get the work done. They are above average if you ask me. I was not expecting a simulation game there, but it could have been tighter. The controls, sometimes it feels unresponsive on PlayStation 4. Now let us move on to the story. The only thing where this game does not succeed is story. You see, this game thinks it's trying to tell a very meaningful story, but its story is very bad if you ask. The main character, Deacon St. John, is a weird man. I think he might also be psychologically disturbed by all these killings and stuff, because he tends to talk to himself while riding his bike, and he blabbers like anything. Character wise, I think this roaming around here and there on his bike all alone all this time and killing all kinds of people and killing all kinds of zombies, or freakers as they call them in the game, has taken a toll on his head and has drawn him mad. Whatever the thing might be, this game just does not tell his story very well. It tries to be a very deep tale of friendship, love, doing the right thing, and being honest to your fellow man, and it fails in everything. See, at one point, Deacon St. John is delivering slaves to a camp. There is a person who runs a camp, which is basically a slave camp. She just makes people work for her, and she does not feed them if they don't work, and he delivers people to her in exchange for credits and reputation. And in one mission, when he delivers a girl to her, he kind of relates to her, and now he started feeling bad. This action of his ends up destroying that girl's life, in my opinion. And before feeling bad for her and after feeling bad for her, there's nothing he does to actually change the things that are happening in that camp. In fact, that particular camp continues to operate till the end and after the story ends. So if this game was trying to say something about slavery or anything like that, it fails here. Then there's this other camp which is run by a conspiracy theorist. This conspiracy guy is always on his radio telling people how government has been hiding stuff from people, the citizens of USA, and that has led to this, and he sounds pretty radical. Then he befriends Deacon St. John. Deacon St. John does a lot of work for him. Then he warns people against working with a government organization that eventually shows up in the game, Nero. Deacon St. John is working with Nero now, and the guy stays the same, and his radical ways don't change. He stays a conspiracy theorist. He sometimes acts like a redneck too, and he stays the same. He doesn't even change. He's always talking about our land, our place, and our country. Then we talk about Iron Mike, the third camp where Deacon St. John goes to. This guy is a straight up moron. He lets everything slide. He lets people do anything they want, and then he says sorry to them, and he says, I just want to be friends with everyone and I don't want to harm anyone no matter what people do. And what people do is eventually people come and shoot him, and he instantly dies. Till his last breath, he is forgiving people. Now this could have been a very deep, thoughtful thing about non-violence, but it doesn't, because none of these things that are happening around Deacon St. John change him. They don't make him a better man. They don't make him question his life choices. They don't make him fight for anything. He just keeps on doing what he wants to do. He wants to find his wife. He would find his wife, and he would put everyone around him in danger. He would let his friend die for it. He would let Iron Mike die for it. He would put all those camps in danger, but all he has to do is find his wife. So yes, he ends up finding her. It doesn't make a difference, because after finding Deacon St. John's wife, and after the end game, she's nowhere to be seen. You converse with people that you were conversing with before. You do your missions as usual. You do side missions as usual. You go around, hunt hordes, and now his wife has just vanished from the surface of this earth. Why? Because she was a story element that the game developers were done with. So once she served her purpose, they just took her away. What happens was, even after he found his wife, even after she is with him, Deacon St. John is the same. He doesn't change. Then there's this guy O'Brien, who belongs to this government organization called Nero, the guy whom he works for, who gives Deacon St. John his missions. This guy just orders him around. He points Deacon St. John in direction of his wife, and other than that, before and after, he does nothing. And after the story ends, he comes out of nowhere and he decides to show his face. All this time he was covered, the face was covered in a hazmat suit, and at the end he just shows his face, and he's a zombie. He's a freaker. He's a freaker who's actually intelligent, and he has a superhuman powers. As he says, he got those powers and those freaker look, that infection, while he was researching these freakers samples and stuff, and then he just goes away. Where does he go? Nowhere. They are coming. This is what he says, and he just goes away. Who's coming? The government. Why are they coming? They are just coming. No explanation. So I assume maybe they are just coming to finish off the survivors, because maybe the government started all this stuff, this freaker pandemic, and now they just want to hide everything. They just want a clean slate, so they are coming. If they want a clean slate, why the hell is O'Brien, a superpowered talking freaker, riding around in a Nero helicopter? Well, I guess there wouldn't be an answer to this thing, because there is not going to be a sequel to this game. O'Brien is just going to keep on flying around in that helicopter forever, I guess. After this revelation, Deacon St. John says, shit. This is what he says, and he just moves on with his life. His supposed wife was nowhere to be seen, and those people that he didn't care about, he just goes around doing all those missions for him. Story wise, this game serves no purpose. You go from one place to another, then from that place to another place, then one more place. It changes nothing. It stays the same. It tells you nothing. It teaches you nothing. It's just nothing. Writing is so bad. The mission names tell you how bad the writing is. Usually a game's mission is named in somewhat a clever way. It's related to what you are doing in the mission, and sometimes it's like symbolic or something. But here I would tell you, I'm not even joking here. I knew that if this game is called He Is My Brother, then during this mission, Deacon St. John is going to say he's my brother at some point, and that's why they have this name. It's like a movie that has its own name in one of the dialogues, and after a few missions it gets old, and it gets noticeable, and it gets pretty evident that they've stopped putting effort in trying to come up with even the names of the missions. People would say it's a very trivial thing, and it is a trivial thing, but it actually shows how less they care about it. They made a very good looking game. They gave it decent gameplay mechanics. They gave so many weapons to experiment with. They created these hordes. They gave them intelligent ways to roam around. They gave them a way to sniff each other and follow each other. If a zombie from a horde gets left behind, it would actually follow the trail of smell left by his buddies, and he would actually reach where they were going. This is how much they worked on it, and in the end, this is how they treated the story. I think someone in their development team played Red Dead Redemption 2 at that moment, and they decided, okay, whenever Deacon St. John is riding his bike from one big location to another big location, there would be a song. Why? Because Red Dead Redemption 2 had it. Red Dead Redemption 2 actually made a statement with its music. This game, it doesn't even say something that you would pay attention to, let alone making a statement. At one point, I was just skipping everything people were talking. I was skipping dialogues. I didn't even care what they wanted to say. Why? Because they didn't have anything interesting to say. All they did was just say a bunch of nothing and waste my time. I was having so much fun killing hordes and hordes of zombies, killing enemies, throwing rocks, distracting them and isolating them and killing them with my knife. But whenever a cutscene started and whenever someone started talking to me, I rolled my eyes because I knew there was nothing they're going to say that's going to be of any interest to me. The game's cutscenes are pretty well made. They have a good production value to them, but all this has gone to waste because they didn't have a good story to tell. In fact, they didn't have anything to say. They just passed around a bunch of ideas, no satisfying conclusion. Deacon St. John is not a good character. He's a complicated person. Maybe that might be accidental. Maybe the voice actor read too much into his lines, or maybe he noticed that they haven't given much depth to the character, so he just did it all this by himself. Now that's enough of me ranting about the story of this game, because it's not, no matter what I say, it's not going to improve now. But I must say, if you don't mind skipping everything, skipping the cutscenes, skipping the dialogues, I would say this game is worth playing. It's totally worth playing for those experiences that I've had for killing hordes. The hordes are awesome in this game. There would be a point in this game when you would have enough weapons, enough firepower to go around, and you would find yourself looking for a bunch of zombies to kill. And that's where this game actually shines. It has awesome environment. If you use your headphones and just roam around at night, you can hear everything that's going on, and you would not be disappointed by the environment of it, by the gameplay of it, by the visuals of it. That is all that actually pulls you into this game. But the story, it just falls flat, and that is why I think this game deserves a sequel. But I hope if they ever made one, they just either work on a better story, or they don't put so much effort into trying to make a deep story. In fact, they should try and work on making those hordes even larger, and from next time they should try and make sure those games that they make have fewer bugs, because it doesn't look good when you kill a zombie and it's still dancing in front of you. You see, you kill a thing twice and it's still dancing in front of you. It looks weird. Okay guys, now the conclusion here is, I just ranted about a game that released around 2 years ago, and I know I might not have changed any minds here, and if I did, I would be glad to know. I would still say, if you enjoy playing games full of awesome creepy environments, just go ahead with this game, but don't go in expecting a groundbreaking story. In fact, just skip the cutscenes, because it has an interesting ideas that lead nowhere, and that just makes you angry. Okay guys, this is what I think about Days Gone, a game that released 2 years ago. I hope you found it entertaining, helpful or interesting, and if you did, please subscribe, please like, and please click on that notification button, because I'm working on a couple of more similar videos that you might find interesting and you might wanna listen to or watch.